Thank you. So I'll just warn you, I have the inability to stand in one spot. So if I make you dizzy, just yell. I move. Sorry to the camera back there because I can't stand still. So as Raven said, this was not my original career path. My original career path was in accounting. I actually ran a law firm for 12 years. And then I was blessed with a beautiful baby. His name is Garrett. And he didn't develop according to the milestones, the checklist. And at 3.5, he was diagnosed with autism. So my career path changed. I dove in. I wanted to learn everything I possibly could about autism and how to help my son. So now, 15 years later, I am the head of the Autism Society here in Erie and sharing my knowledge of what I've learned professionally, educationally based, as well as walking the walk with my son. So we'll get started. So the Autism Society in Northwestern Pennsylvania is located here in Erie on State Street. Actually, we are right across the street from the Jefferson Society's main house at 3308 State Street. We create connections empowering everyone in the autism community with the resources needed to live fully. We're a family support organization. We are not a provider. However, we do offer social interaction programs and therapeutic life skills and job skills. When I say we're not a provider, we are not an organization that will go like out into the homes. You've heard wraparound services and different supports services in the school. We are not under that umbrella. So what is autism? How many here know somebody with autism, work with autism, live with somebody? Just about everybody. Well, the numbers are 1 in 36, so that is not surprising. But the formal definition is autism is a developmental disorder of neurological origin. So that affects, often severely, a person's ability to communicate and social interact. We're a very social society, so that delay or challenge with social interaction and communication can cause a lot of hurdles for somebody in their day-to-day life. The characteristics of autism, they may not appear in infancy. Some of our more profoundly individuals will show at an earlier age. We have some that have been diagnosed as young as 18 months. But typically, it becomes apparent during 24 months to 6 years. You'll really start seeing some of those deficits and some signs of autism. I will say that young ladies, we're doing a better job at recognizing them at a younger age, but many of our young ladies are not being identified until middle school or high school. They are innately more social, so they're not checking all the boxes, although we are doing a good job educating ourselves to recognize that you can still be social, but have some of those autistic tendencies. It has no boundaries. Autism does not care what country you're from, what region of the world, what your ethnic or racial background, or what your economic boundaries. It doesn't care. It can affect anybody, anywhere. And please, if you have questions, I like to be very informal. Interrupt, because sometimes it's better to ask during the presentation than at the end, because others can benefit.
What was about autism, like, they wasn't passed too much? That part of like growing up, like neglect, like no education, social, no interact people.
I'm sorry, say that beginning again.
What is someone with autism, child autism, they grow their whole life like isolated, like making fun of?
Oh, individuals being bullied and made fun of when they're young? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, they also got pulled out of school or nothing, miseducation. People through in the past, it's like, is that normal?
Yes. In the past, yes, individuals diagnosed with autism were isolated, as you said, pulled out of school or made fun of. But that is a changing pattern. There are laws now to protect those individuals with a disability.
What about someone like their whole life, the whole family really screwed up, like cold name, like the R word, retarded.
Yeah, that word we do not use anymore. That word is not allowed to be used anymore. It's disrespectful and insulting.
Well, like,
They use intellectually disabled
yeah,
now.
but usually the family continue to use that word all the time. Like use that word all the time. Does not mean
People
you're-
still use that? Is that what you're saying?
No, he has his own environment.
Pardon me?
He has his own home environment.
Oh, in your home environment.
Yeah. do it
Oh,
right
I apologize for that.
No,
That
okay.
is,
He actually moved out, I
now.
guess, early 20s.
No, my parents use that retard stuff for over 30 years. They still call me to this day. Stop.
mm-hmm.
Because like I was beaten as a kid. One time I went to hospital for pneumonia. I was beaten every day. I got made fun of. I got harassed.
Well, I'm so sorry that has happened to you. Let's talk afterwards, okay? Let's see if we can get you some
Well,
resources.
My family screwed me. Screwed all
Oh,
of
yeah.
me.
Yeah, we'll figure out if we can get you connected to some resources after. So autism is a lifetime disability that is considered a spectrum because it affects individuals differently. Their intensity of their systems can vary drastically. However, the key areas of impairments that you will experience is communication, social relationships, and restricted patterns of behavior. Those are the three core areas that you're going to see deficits. According to the CDC, 1 in 36 children are identified with autism now, about 1% of the world population. Over the next 5 years, we're going to see 500,000 individuals with autism. Here in Pennsylvania, they're estimating over 50,000 adults by next year living with autism. These are going to be your coworkers, your neighbors, your grocery clerks. They're going to be right out there. And it's the fastest growing developmental disability in the US, with no known cause at this time. And as we said, it's seen all in racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. So while individuals have different skill levels, we're going to see challenges in communication, verbal, nonverbal. And we'll go into this. We'll break this down in more detail. Some may not speak. They may not have the ability to communicate in our typical manner that we're all aware of. May speak only using 1 or 2 word phrases. May engage in conversations but have a difficulty talking about range of interest. They're going to really be focused on what their interests are, what their preferred topics are. They're comfortable there. Expanding beyond that can raise the anxiety and they feel uncomfortable. Difficult understanding language and reasoning. Challenges socializing and developing friendships. It doesn't mean they do not want friends. It's just very hard sometimes. Having friends, having relationships is a lot of work. And challenging behaviors. I always say, though, don't judge the book by its cover. Behaviors for many of our individuals is communication. If they don't have the means to communicate in the typical manner, so that's going to come out in behaviors. So we should find out what is causing those behaviors before we judge them. Faces of autism. All of these individuals are diagnosed with autism. Many, many years ago, as she said, I have a 20-year-old on the spectrum. When he was first diagnosed, his brother was very active in sports. And another mom came up to me, not the one I know here though. Another mom came up to me and said, "Oh, he doesn't look like he has autism." That was their suggestion. Okay, sorry, we left it at home today. But they all, you can't tell by looking at an individual if they have autism or not. Maybe if you start seeing some behaviors or how they're talking, if they're talking robotic, then you could maybe go, I think. But you can't tell.
I see you have 4 pictures of boys, only 1 girl, so it's
Yes.
mostly
Yes,
boys.
it's still a higher number. It's about 1 in 4. 1 girl to 4 boys that are being diagnosed. So it is still a lot higher in the numbers of boys versus girls. But there is some discussion now. Is that because many girls are going undiagnosed or not? It is a question. We have quite a few more girls in our teen program now than we used to. It used to be like 1 girl, And now in our teen club this last year, we had 12. So there are more young ladies. So each person with autism is unique. Have you guys heard of Dr. Stephen Shore? Yes? You can't answer this question because she's seen my presentation before. So if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Dr. Stephen Shore identifies as an individual with autism. I've heard he since has been officially diagnosed, and he is a professor. So he wears a baseball hat. So if you've seen him, you can't answer either. He wears a baseball cap whenever he presents. Whenever he's at I had the pleasure of seeing him present. So why do you think he wears a baseball cap when he teaches his classes in college and he presents to a room? Yes. Yes, the lights. The baseball cap protects his eyes from the lights. We're actually very, fortunate here. We don't have those heavy lights. But when you're up on a stage and you have those bright lights shining down, the bill of the baseball cap protects his eyes. It makes him more comfortable. Autism is spectrum disorder, and it looks different in each person. You're going to see no two individuals are alike. They may have some similarities, but they're all going to be very unique. It is difficult to determine someone has autism by looking at them. Each individual with autism is unique, talented, and wonderful in their own way. And verbal ability has no bearing on intellectual ability. Just because someone cannot talk in the typical manner does not mean that they can't understand, that their intellectual development could be a lot higher. They just don't have the ability to communicate in the manner we're all accustomed.
What was the children autism, adult autism, but like losing their loved ones, like 10 years ago, I lost my cousin, he was doing heroin, I was stressed. And then people were making, other children make fun of me stupid, my family, I never, 10 years ago, I never second had a war one.
Okay, yep, we'll talk about that afterwards, okay? We'll talk about that after. We do have two young ladies here on the spectrum. Because of the difficulties in reading body language and cues, people on the autism spectrum have a difficult time negotiating the complex art of social interaction. We have a lot of unwritten social rules in our society. We know how to come in, and it's we call it read the room, where if somebody walked in right now, they would be very quiet, they would check in, they would hope there's a seat in the back so they don't have to come up here and sit near the presenter, and very quiet. An individual with autism may not have that ability to read the room. And they're gonna come in, maybe there was an accident or there was traffic. They're gonna come in and be like, I'm late because there was cars blocking the road, I couldn't find a parking spot. They're gonna disrupt. Not because they wanna be that center of attention, but because they're stressed, and the fact is, they're like, I need to tell you why I'm late. And they're not, what we say, reading the room. Challenges reading social cues and understanding another's perspective, making small talk and exchanging niceties. That can be hard for an individual. Just that small chit chat. They're not going to be the ones sitting around at the water cooler at the office talking about their weekend, or be very focused on what their job is at hand. So these quotes are from individuals living with autism. Visiting shopping centers was hell due to the bright lights and the ambient crowd noises. We probably don't think about that too often. We just go and run our errands, do our shopping, and we don't think about the atmosphere. Hollister, poor Hollister at the mall, I'm picking on it. You guys ever shop at Hollister at the mall? No? I swear the door closes, it moves, it's dark, there's a lot of little sub-rooms, they're spraying something in the air to make you want to buy, they're playing music. It's relaxing, right? For us, we're like, oh, it puts you in the shopping mood. You lose track of time because you go into this whole other world. Well, my son We go to Hollister because we have mastered who has the softest t-shirts in town. I was on a hunt for many, many years of what the softest t-shirt, because otherwise you buy him shirts and he won't wear them. Well, we went there and I said, you're going to pick out your own shirts this time. That lasted 5 minutes. I need out now, I have to go. That's all he kept saying. We have to go. I'm like, we're fine. No, we're not. I have to go. He finally went out and he sat on a bench outside the store, and we'll never go in that store again. What I thought made for a relaxing, calm shopping experience turned his world upside down. He had all this too much senses coming in. It was overloading for him. And that can happen at a lot of stores in the chaos. I mean, shopping during Black Friday, that will never happen. It's like, no, he will go in a cave first. But it's just that that's too much commotion. And a lot of these stores, I did not realize this till later when I've studied autism, as like Kohl's. They specifically design their store in a layout to navigate you through. So you do some impulse buying. I can't feel that. My son can physically feel it. He goes in and he tells me, this is not good. This is not good. He doesn't go to Kohl's. We might go to Kohl's to the shoe department, look at a pair of shoes and get right back out. There will never be wandering. When he was younger, we used to go into Kohl's and he would take off and I'd be the frantic mother yelling, lock the doors, he's loose. Somebody help me. He would just run. He had to escape from that feeling because he could physically feel the store. It's kind of strange, huh? I'm like, I don't get it. I didn't get it. But he told me that he could feel it. Autism causes me to offend so many people. You hear there's no filter. Whatever pops into their head typically oozes out their mouth, sometimes not appropriate. Sometimes when you're at a bowling alley and there's someone on the lane next to you and your son yells rather loudly like he has a bullhorn, hey, should shower, Mom. You're like, oh my God. Okay, honey. Shh. Yes, that happens quite often. I haven't talked to anyone outside my family since the last day of school. A lot of them experience that social isolation. They're not getting invited to meet their friends at the mall. They're not being invited to the football games, the Halloween parties, to go to the movies. And so they end up being socially isolated. First off, they need a cruise director to make their plans because they're all terrible about calling each other or texting. And then they're not in school, so they don't have that connection. It's not that I lack the social skills others have, it's just that I had to learn them actively, and I have to keep them in the conscious part of my head, whereas others can do it subconsciously. We have autistic support classrooms that come to our family center 3 times a week, 3 different school districts. One of the young men that comes on Fridays, he loves to vacuum. He just absolutely, his mother was shocked because he's never touched the vacuum in their house, but he always comes and he vacuums our family center. So he came in one day and he's like, Miss Tish, I need the vacuum, give me the vacuum. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he goes, oh, was that rude? He was actively trying to learn what is appropriate and what is inappropriate in talking to other individuals. And I said, well, no, but next time, you could say, I'm ready to vacuum. Can I help you get it? Versus, where's the vacuum? Kind of thing. But he was actively trying to learn because he knows that sometimes he can come across a little abrasive. Let's see if I can make this play.
Autism is really hard to explain for me because I've never really experienced being a normal person, because I did that in quotes because, well, let's face it here, there really is no such thing as normal.
It can be a lot of different things.
It's a spectrum. Not everyone has every single symptom.
You can tell from someone's, face if they have autism.
Autism is how someone's brain is wired.
It's just part of your perception of the world.
When there's too much people standing around talking, too much noises. Just feels uncomfortable.
It's lights and sounds that usually do it for me. It's like the entire world is pressuring you and crunching onto you, and there's not really much you can do about it except just get out of there.
I don't go to movie theaters. I've never been to a concert. I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of stuff.
I remember very early on, watching someone scratching at the carpet. The feeling sticks when it's really awful, and it's just
Some people with autism have a hard time knowing when someone's happy or sad or angry or frustrated.
I wish socializing were easier, definitely. Because there are so many times when I'm with other people who seem to have a natural flow of conversation that they all get, and it almost seems like they have a psychic link with each other at some point that I am locked out of.
If someone with autism is a quiet kid in a corner or something like that, it's usually because he's questioning himself. So if you see someone sitting alone or something like that, feel free to go and talk to him. It could help them out a ton. Trust me, I know.
Autistic people don't want to be talked down to, first of all.
Well, some people, like teachers and stuff, misunderstand because they don't know that people have autism.
I wish people would understand that autistic people have their own voices.
I wish people wouldn't judge people with autism so harshly.
I want to know which person knows where autism comes from.
I feel like a cure for autism is a complicated subject.
So in order to cure autism, you would have to go into the DNA and genetics of someone and alter it. But that's your basic makeup, so that would probably impact your entire being.
I think if you're autistic, and really the only true cure, I think, is really what I have gotten over the years, which is support and love.
If I could cure autism, I would definitely not. Mainly because of the fact that I want people to be different.
I wouldn't want to cure autism, no.
I'm really good at a lot of things.
I am good at thinking a lot.
Good at writing stories, like the beginning and endings. I'm just not very good at filling them in.
I'm good at,
I'm told I have a pretty good sense of humor. I'd like to think I have a good sense of humor.
I went to music school for 6 years in vocal performance.
I was a 3D animation major for 3 years.
I'm good at
Creative writing, fiction, and medieval fantasy.
fishing, taking a walk, riding my bicycle, playing the piano, taking the train, reading, dancing, I don't know. That's all I have.
A lot of people with autism are able to do something.
I would like to live independently.
I've always wanted to be a writer.
I also want to make the world a better place.
I don't just see one future, I see many possibilities of my future.
People with autism are people, too. That about sums it up.
Okay. I added that to the presentation a month ago because I thought it was really hard to hear directly from individuals. That was created by the University of Massachusetts, the Aspire. We are actually this fall going to make one here in Erie with some local individuals. So, but I think it's more touching when you hear it directly from individuals versus just me speaking. What surprised me is those that said they would not want it to be cured. Well, it was kind of a surprise because that is how they identify themselves of who they are. So some of our social challenges where they talked about, you hear the young man that said if someone's sitting alone, go over to them because they don't want to be alone. But they have challenges developing and maintaining relationships and friendships. That is huge. It really exposes yourself when you walk up to somebody and you introduce and you put yourself out there. That's hard for anyone. But then somebody that is autistic and has anxiety and they're very self-conscious, I mean, that's jumping off a cliff. Might have a hard time relating to others, taking another's perspective and displaying emotions. As the boy said, he cannot read how other feelings are. My son has been telling us that his entire life. He doesn't display typical emotions. You can tell he is sad, you can tell he's upset by how he walks and that we've known him for his mannerisms, but he doesn't know how to physically say, that hurt me, so-and-so hurt my feelings. Might be difficult to share enjoyment and interest with others. Might not show anticipatory behaviors. So this one hit my husband hard. When Garrett, our goal was to get Garrett to drive because he actually decided the January of his senior year of high school that he was going to go to college. We never dreamed he would go to college. Besides having autism, he also has dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia, which are a reading, math, and writing disability. But he has determined he was going to college. Okay, now we're going to college. He's out of Edinburgh, Penn West Edinburgh. They have an amazing support system if anyone is at that point in their life.
Did he get his bachelor's?
Yes, he's working on getting his bachelor's. He just finished his freshman year. So 3 more years and we hope he has a bachelor's. We're working. But we needed him to drive. We live in Waterford. We wanted him to commute. So my husband bought a used car. My son was born in 2004. He bought him a Toyota RAV 2003. Remember that. Fixed it all up. My husband put a lot of hours in fixing the body and painting it. I mean, it looks really nice on the outside, really shiny, new on the outside. So he surprised Garrett. Garrett came home and he's like, I got you a car. Look at what I did. Garrett walks around it. What year is it? It's a 2003. Do you know it's a year older than me? That was his only comment. I think my husband, with his tail between his legs, went, fine, it's yours. He was so upset. He was like, you give your son a car, they're supposed to be excited. And Garrett's like, do you know it's older than me? But he does love the car, and anyone that has been a boy, mom of a teenager, he's had it for a year and it's never